Hi, this is Togo. Moshe Feldenkrais talked about learning to learn in the chapter of Awareness Through Movement in the Elusive Obvious. Either this book or this book. Moshe believes that the latent abilities in every one of us are considerably greater than the ones we live with. The latency is actively imposed by ourselves because of lack of awareness. Moshe also believed that we actually limit ourselves by an undue and erroneous emphasis on what is important to the society of men at the neglect of how each individual can be helped to find his uniqueness and become unique in his contribution to himself and his social environment is too often neglected. Learning is very different from doing. Let's explore 11 gists of learning to learn. 1. Know your own rate of learning. For successful learning, you must repeat action at your own rate until you have enough of it. This occurs when the intention and its performance are executed so that they are just one act, which feels like an intention only. One act of intention. 2. Proceed very slowly. Allow yourself all the time necessary to assimilate the idea of the movement and the leisure to get used to the novelty of the situation. There is sufficient time to perceive and organize yourself, and to repeat the movement as often as you feel is right. You discover your own rate of learning and slowly learn to find your innate rhythm. The slowness is necessary for the discovery of parasitic superfluous exertion and its partial elimination. Elimination of useless parasitic action will make for efficiency surer than just striving for it. If you do not hurry but attend to the elimination of hindrances to motion, your speed will increase beyond that of your weight freely falling, and consequently its power. Fast action when learning is strenuous leads to confusion and makes the learning unpleasant and unnecessarily tiring. 3. Breathe simple. Learning must be pleasurable and it must be easy. The two makes breathing simple. 4. Make it aesthetically pleasing. You make the impossible possible, the easy, comfortable, pleasurable, and finally aesthetically pleasing. Do not be serious, eager, avoid any wrong move. Awareness through movement is a source of pleasurable sensations, which lose their clarity if anything dims the pleasure of it all. 5. Think of better movement, rather than like to arrive at the right movement. The right movement has no future development. The better can be improved. The right remains the limit forever. Better can be bettered. Right and correct remain forever right, and the correct and different one. 6. Have variations. Moshe started with constituents of the movement. There are many different variations of the constituent partial configuration of the final skill. The preliminary ingredient movement do not usually evoke the final act so that you are at ease and not urged to go all out to achieve. By shifting your attention to the means of achieving instead of the urge to succeed, the learning process is easier, quieter, and faster. Striving for a goal reduces the incentive to learn, but by adopting a level of action well within your means, you can improve your way of acting and reach much higher levels in the end. 7. Use less strength. When learning, do not have any intention of being correct. Do not act well or nicely. Do not hurry, as this creates confusion. Instead, go slowly and use no more, but rather less strength than you need to increase your sensitivity. 8. Pay attention. Attention must be directed alternately to the background and figure. You have to know first the trees and then the forest, where they belong. The shifting from figure to background and vice versa becomes so familiar that you can simultaneously perceive both without any bothering or striving to be efficient. 9. Grasp the unknown. Learning means grasping the unknown. Learning is concerned with the unknown becoming known, which is realized after its discovery. Error cannot be avoided, but error can be eliminated when you know what is right. But when you know what is right, you can do without further learning. By simple repetition or exercising, which will teach you a sort of achievement. Awareness through movement leads to knowledge of yourself and to previously undiscovered resource in yourself. Do not avoid errors, but rather use them as alternative for what you feel is right, and their roles may soon be interchanged. Then practice awareness, conscious of plus knowledge. Being awake means you know how you are oriented relative to gravity. The time spent on self-observation in action, which is movement, is insignificant when compared with the readiness of the resulting excellence and fluency. When practicing things, be always aware of how you are doing and discover an alternative to habitual. Improvement of talented people comes through their awareness of themselves in action, and their talent arises from their freedom to choose their modes of action. Hours of repetitive practice is hard work, but hours of practicing awareness in movement or action remain the most absorbing and interesting time in our lives. The feeling of being alive relates to the awareness of growing to be oneself. 11. See with your mind's eye, imagination. Form for yourself an ideal image of the ideal function of an ideal man. Ideal means non-existent. Idealized anti-gravity function of the skeleton and its musculature means levitation, like lightness, weightlessness, at will in all directions and at any moment. Imagine that you are actually moving but without doing so. You will become aware of the muscle being organized in the necessary pattern for performing the movement, and it will have been achieved in about 1/5 of the time compared to actually doing it. In summary, awareness through movement is a more efficient way to learn than just striving and willpower. Repetition is not a very efficient way of essential learning, but it is useful as means of familiarizing an already achieved learning. If you do something and do not know what you are doing, then it is incorrect for you. If you do know what you are doing, then whatever you do is correct for you. That is how we have freedom of choice. Moshe stated that learning is the most important things for a human being, and you can, at any time of your life, rewire yourself, provided that there is nothing permanent or compulsive in your system except what you believe to be so. Learning should be a pleasant, marvelous experience. Learn about yourself. Know what you are doing. Capture your freedom of choice. Regain human dignity. Experience the exhilaration of your life. Thank you very much. Have a day that is exhilarated.